Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Here's what's happening. We get one last look at this postseason's incredible duel between Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray when the Jazz and Nuggets clash in Game 7 tonight, 8 Eastern, ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, 8:30 Eastern on ABC. Murray and Mitchell each have two 50-point games in the series. The nod tonight goes to Denver in Game 7, explains First Takes Stephen A. Smith.
I just look at Jamal Murray as being the elite of a crew of dudes who can ball. I see Donovan Mitchell with Utah. It's Donovan Mitchell and everybody else. And I don't think that that's going to be enough to offset the onslaught that Jamal Murray is going to throw in their direction.
Celtics and Raptors meet up in Game 2 of their second-round series, 5:30 Eastern, ESPN TV and the ESPN app. Toronto is down 1-0. NFL, Bengals and running back Joe Mixon agreed on a 4-year, $48 million extension. The Law is the 3-5 morning line favorite for the 146th Kentucky Derby through the number 17 post for Saturday's race. Honor AP 5-1 odds through the number 16 post.
Did you know that right now, Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more.
Can the Heat realistically win, or is this a 6 games great effort series against an all-time Milwaukee Bucks team from the regular season?
Chiney Ogwumike.
I've learned to never doubt Jimmy Butler. He's first team. I want all the smoke. I'm not giving you an answer here.
And Mike Golick Jr.
I see you dancing around this right now. Like, are you just willing to say Milwaukee in 6? This sounds like a Milwaukee
why are you
in 6
spinning
answer.
this back at me? Whoa.
Chiney and Golick Jr.
I tried to back her in, and she was not letting me. Maybe for good reason. Jimmy Butler shutting a lot of people up in Game 1.
Oh, yes. Sending a message.
It's Chiney Ogwumike Jr. here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, Sirius XM Channel 80. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golick Jr. and Chiney Ogwumike. And Chiney, we heard it from you in the open right there. Jimmy Butler going out there and sending a message to everyone involved last night as they get a Game 1 win over the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round here. And it's going to bring up a larger discussion we want to have about the nature of having a dog on your team, someone like Jimmy Butler who has that edge and attitude. But as you looked at last night, Chiney, was this a situation for you that was more about the failings of what Giannis was doing on the court, or Jimmy Butler, his 40-point explosion in a playoff outing for the Heat?
I think Jimmy Butler wanted that moment. He wanted that game. And the Bucks, they have their sights set on the long term, the long run. But for the Miami Heat, they're in the present. They're in the now. And this was, for the second consecutive series, the number 1 overall seed, the Bucks, drop the opening game, and we will see how they respond. But this is a nugget. You know I love nuggets, right? I love chicken nuggets, but I love statistical nuggets more so. Giannis finished with an average shot distance of 15 feet, 15.3 feet. That is his third longest average shot distance in a game, according to our own Second Spectrum, which means he's shooting further out than ever before, which is funny because 15 feet is like a little further than the free throw line on average. That's what they want. That shows you that Miami had the game plan to make him uncomfortable and shoot from where he didn't want to necessarily. This is a guy that gets usually what he wants at the rim at will. And when they double, then he sort of starts second guessing himself. It gets in his head. We saw that on the free throw line, going 4 for 12 from the free throw line. Those are things like you hate to see it because you want to see a competitor compete at a top level, especially when you're likely to get MVP. But then you see the free throw line, you're like, oh, that's where it's like, oh, geez, like this just is not the night probably for him.
And Chiney, I'm curious on this one because this is the second year in a row now, and I know it's a one-game sample size here. I'm not ready to write off the Bucks yet. I think talent wills out still in this series, but it could go the distance. But I look at this now, and like you said, there was a wall built by the Miami Heat when it got to the free throw line there, which is exactly what we saw the North do in Toronto last year when it got to that playoff series with Milwaukee. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard, the leader of that charge there, one of the best defenders we've got in the league. But we saw now a second year in a row, just enough of a hint that, all right, is it that? And Chiney, you tell me this because I've never been in a postseason locker room in the NBA and the WNBA. How much different does it become defensively for what Giannis is seeing coming off one of the most dominant offensive seasons we've ever seen?
Do you want me to sing it?
Sing it.
A whole new world.
Don't
It's a
you
whole
dare close your eyes.
It's a whole new. I'm low-key hyped for Mulan coming out this weekend. We're totally gonna watch the live action Mulan, but it's a whole new world in the postseason. When you have scouting reports, they're usually used when you're playing those 3 games in 5 days, 4 games in 7 days, that rigorous 82-game season. Like, that's when you rely on the scouting report because you don't have the time to really invest in schemes. When you are in a playoff series seeing the same opponent for at a minimum 4 times, you throw those away. It's all about who wants it the most, like who wants it the baddest. And I look at these plays that we're seeing on the commercials. We're seeing Marcus Smart dive for loose balls. We saw Paul George, who was struggling for a large portion, dive for loose balls. We saw Damian Lillard do that. Like, that's what wins you games. It's those turnaround possessions, which is why don't get me started on my Rockets because, but yeah. So yeah, it's a whole different ball game, and the scouting just goes so far up. Like, the attention to detail goes so far up. You saw yesterday Chris Paul literally talking to Dennis Schroeder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and like he was saying, "Good job!" Like, not just for dealing with me being a tough leader, but also for rising up to the challenge where most people don't expect it. And when you are at the top, people sort of gun for you. Like, they have that target on the back. And so it's that doubly. So yeah, it's an entirely different environment and feel. And it's very unpredictable because people are giving you their absolute all consistently, and that can't be scouted.
And it's Chiney Ogwumike Jr. here on ESPN Radio. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. We got a great guest list today. Trevor Booker going to join us at 4:30.
I'm excited for that.
Some of this playoff action. Harry Lyle's going to join us at 5:30. Talk about a lot of the news to unpack in the world of college football. And Field Yates at 6:15. If you miss any of those guests, you can listen to all 4 hours on demand in the ESPN app.
I'm looking forward to that too because of fantasy.
Oh, I was going to say, we got to get to that because Chiney and I are going to be embroiled in some fantasy inter-show rivalry with Spain and Fitz in the evenings around here. So we got to get ourselves right and tuned up for that. But the other part of this with Giannis, Chiney, and you mentioned it there, how intricate the game plans get. This is the second year offensively where we're watching Giannis have a little bit of trouble with what the defense throws at him. But Jay Williams, co-host of Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin, talked about this morning. What we ask of Giannis on the defensive end has to be more. Here he was.
Why would I ask that? Because you're Defensive Player of the Year. Have you seen yourself on the court? You're go-go gadget arms. You're incredibly fast. You can block shots from crazy distances. Jimmy Butler is lighting you guys up down the stretch. I mean, that shot he just took, you guys can't see it because you listen to us on radio. It was a 1-on-2 situation. Yeah, we're going to ask you those questions because you haven't won a championship yet. And in order to win a championship against a team that has a leading dog like Jimmy Butler, we need you to guard him down the stretch.
So he was talking about the notion of Giannis checking Jimmy Butler down the stretch of this game, and I see you wincing right now. So what's the immediate feedback on that? Because then I want to focus on the word dog here.
I think it's a little bit of an overreaction just because it's game 1. And Giannis, we all know, we all criticized him not too long ago, and I'm saying we because we didn't do that. But when the headbutt situation happened, everyone's like, oh, this is so out of character for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so we all sort of celebrate him as like the happy guy, the smiley guy. He has his brother on the team. He's such a humble leader. And now it's sort of like when he sort of pushes back on that notion, it's like, oh, see, we're waiting on you to like snap. And it's like, this is not in his nature or character, but the expectation is there. There's an expectation where when you just win Defensive Player of the Year and you're in a game and this man is going off, I mean, even if I get crossed up and fall to the floor, I'm going to just try to take one possession myself. And so not to be intentional about that. Maybe he did switch on a few times here or there, but not to be intentional to at least send that message as a leader of your team. Guess what? I'm going to go out there and try to slow this man down because he has stolen the momentum of this game. I feel that. I just don't feel the energy like directing it all hostile at Giannis because I can understand. Okay, yes, he's Defensive Player of the Year, but like this is game 1 and this is Giannis in a post game. It's not like the game's on right now.
And it's Defensive Player of the Year within the body of the way they play defense there, and Defensive Player of the Year doing it as partially a rim protector because of his unbelievable size in a lot of this.